Welcome to another episode of the Smart with a Heart podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of service, leadership, and the pursuit of excellence. I'm your host, Bryce Randall. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kelvin White, a distinguished U.S. Army officer and a testament to dedication and leadership. Kelvin hails from Pennsylvania and has led a remarkable career, beginning with his education at the United States Military Academy, where he co-captained the Army football team. As a lieutenant, he served in Germany with the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, traveling extensively and enriching his global perspective. Kelvin's military journey includes commanding roles in the 101st Airborne Division and operational deployments with the 75th Ranger Regiment in support of NATO and special operation missions. He is currently preparing to transition from the military, having been accepted into Notre Dame's Mendoza College School of Business for his MBA in Business Analytics, aiming to forge a new path in the technology sector. Joining him in his new chapter of life is his wife, Emily, also an accomplished Army officer, who will be taking on a role as the Notre Dame's Assistant Professor of Military Science. In addition to his military accolades, he is deeply involved in veteran outreach and professional development through organizations like Management Leadership for Tomorrow and Team Red, White, and Blue. Today, we'll hear from Kelvin about his military experiences, his successful use of Smart with a Heart GRE test prep services, his aspirations in the tech industry, and his ongoing commitment to the service and community. Kelvin, welcome to the show.
Bryce, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So I remember reaching out to you and asking for a short, introductory biography, and then you sent this back to me. I was like, "Oh man, this guy is an animal." We had another Army West Point football guy on here. His name's Todd McDonald. Maybe you know him, but when he got online, he was just larger than life too. So I can see that you have definitely still been putting up the weights ever since you graduated.
Yeah, it's really difficult to put the weight on, and it's even harder to get the weight off. So it's a lifelong goal to just maintain and continue to be an athlete past my time.
I know we talked before we started pressing the record button, but I adamantly believe that there are so many people who have very similar stories to you, and I think it's so important to hear firsthand from someone like yourself. So let's go ahead and start early on. Early influences and military academy experiences. So can you share what inspired you to attend the United States Military Academy, and how was your experiences there, especially being a co-captain for the Army football team, and how did that really shape your approach to leadership?
Well, it all started in with Pennsylvania, as you mentioned. Humble beginnings. Grew up with two brothers, and really, I only had one option to get out of my my small town, and that was to take the vessel of sports and really dive into that and just put my whole self there. So I didn't know what West Point was until my senior year when Coach Tucker Wall came into my cafeteria and sat me down. And fortunate for me, I had great mentors when I was in high school that told me, hey, this is a great opportunity for your life, not just for you to play football somewhere. So fun story. I was driving with my best friend Bryce. We were driving to a University of Delaware football game for a recruiting trip with his dad, Mark, who's one of my closest mentors, would do anything for me, kind of like a father figure. And I told him, I said, hey, West Point's coming to visit me. And he stops the car on the highway like I thought the tire blew out. And he says, Kelvin, if West Point comes to visit you, you're going to West Point. If they give you an opportunity to go there, that's where you're going to go. So, fast forward, Coach Wall comes into high school and he's like, we want you to play here at West Point. And I'd never even been on the campus yet. And I was like, yep, I'm coming. I'll sign whatever you need, any letter of intent, anything like that. So, that was just from the presence of one mentor who kind of poured a lot into me. So, his perspective was great. And then obviously 10, 12 years later, it was obviously the best decision I made. And then getting into school, I went to the United States Military Academy of Prep, USMAPS, the prep school at West Point. I was the first class to be on campus up there on Reynolds Road behind the back gate there. Yeah, the first class. Okay. So
that's a beautiful building.
Yeah, I mean it is phenomenal facilities now. But those who were in my class of 2012 at USMAPS, they'll definitely remember us taking classes in Cullum Hall, and all the cadets, from those times will probably remember us, taking up all that space and putting up those temporary walls in Cullum Hall. Still has 340 lights. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great opportunity. Definitely a good choice for those people who are kind of on the fence about military service. And the prep school not only helps you academically if you're worried about the rigors of West Point, but it also inculcates you into the life of the military, like lifestyle. So yes sir, no sir, all those things about, people get worried about or concerned about in the military aspects of their life. And it just gave me a great opportunity to meet new people who I'd go into West Point with, and continue to be lifelong friends with. But made that transition to go to West Point. Played football there. Obviously, a little bit different experience, I would say, than somebody who went there directly out of high school and was not a core squad athlete. But super great, humbling experience. I played quarterback behind the great Army quarterback Trent Steelman for 2 years. Coach came in, and I had to change positions. So I think the biggest thing for me, I just wanted to play football as a football player. I didn't really identify as a quarterback. I obviously loved the opportunity to be the star of the show and touch the ball every play and do the stuff that quarterbacks do. They had that, enthusiastic bravado. But I just wasn't going to cut it as an option quarterback. I'm 6'4", 225 pounds at the time. Just had to do something. And just being an officer, being a leader, and being a cadet surrounded by, people who are going to be the president one day, you just want to give. You want to be able to provide value and add value to anything that you're a part of. So when Coach Monken was like, "Hey, we want you to play, wide receiver and tight end," it was a no-brainer. I was like, "What do you think I'm going to do? Leave the school?" So, I did what I needed to do. I put on a whole bunch of weight to play tight end, weak side tackle, and I think the difference is, like, my mentality at that time was I didn't get to play a lot when I was a sophomore. A lot of competition at quarterback, and in order to play, in order to see the field, in order to add value to the team, I did what I needed to do. I put on 40 pounds, changed my position, like playing quarterback to playing tight end, wide receiver with inside the box it's a completely different sport. So to all you guys who are quarterbacks out there, just know that those guys inside the trenches, it's a different game in there. But so I was able to do that. Played tight end, wide receiver for 2 years. Really anything. I played special teams, long snap. I was the backup holder for place kickers, and my last snap of my career, I played quarterback. So it's a pretty good clip there. DeAndre Bell, Jeffy Jeckham, they should have caught the ball. Edgar Poe. 2015, it would have been it. Would have changed my life forever. But no, I think the opportunity to play football there, to represent the United States Military Academy on the football field, and then within the Corps of Cadets, the opportunity of a lifetime, changed my life forever. And I just wrote a post on LinkedIn the other day about identifying. Obviously, when I stopped playing football, that was a big step for me. Then, as I transition out of the Army, that's going to be a big step for me. And you don't really change who you are. You get some different tags here and there, hashtag football player, hashtag Army Ranger, but I'm just Kelvin White. So I just continue to develop, grow, change. And I'm super, super looking forward to the opportunity to add some more stuff to my resume and change my life. Obviously, in the Army, I've met my wife, Emily. We'll discuss that a little bit later. And then I have 2 children. And part of the decision process and the calculus to get out of the Army was to be a present father, present husband. And I think I can do that a little bit better as I take off the uniform and go to grad school and try to be a better person, better me. So hopefully that answered it, Bryce.
Oh, dude, love that. Definitely started to get the feels, because I didn't play football to any degree that you did. I remember trying to walk on to the team like during Beast. I don't know if you remember, like, some of us cats coming up there, like, just to really get the snacks that they were offering during basic, right? And I remember going up there, and I just realized very quickly, I'm not good enough to be here. So I remember going back down for club night down to like where all the clubs were hosting their events. I can't even remember what the theater was called anymore. But like there was a powerlifting team stand. It was just like 4 or 5 dudes, just dirty, covered in chalk with bars everywhere. And I was like, these might be my people. So luckily I found my little community there. But I did room with a Corps squatter, Lofi.
No, I love Lofi.
Gentlest, lovely heart ever. Love that guy to death. But he worked so hard. you core squatters did not have easy. I think there was always a joke going around like, oh, core squatters get special treatment. No, it's literally for them to survive. In my opinion, like Lofi would come home just beat, tired, like after taps, and it was literally because they were just watching film. You guys were just like always drilling, always going 100 miles an hour. So I have deep respect, especially for y'all football players, because there's so much pressure put on y'all. And I would imagine that mentality and the leadership skills that you even developed on the field greatly contributed to your leadership style, even in the military. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to plug those guys, all the guys from 2012 to 2015. We didn't win a lot, so to continue to beat your head against the wall and still have to take the classes and still dive and pour into the football team, and you're not seeing the results. That takes a special type of person, but it's very very clear to see. Rome wasn't built in a night. You just keep watering the bamboo. And now you look at the Army football team, and those guys have extremely high expectations. So all the cadets out there right now who are watching this one day want to go to grad school or whatever, just be thankful that you guys are 6-2 against Navy since I've graduated, and don't forget that stuff. But yeah, Bryce, to your point, I think sports in general, not necessarily football, but just like being a part of a team, being a part of somewhere where you have to sacrifice or compromise or um, put the team before yourself is really the thing that drives organized sports, and why they're so important for people is because being on a team, being in the Army, being a platoon leader, being a company commander, being on staff, you really have to take in other people's emotions and the decisions that are being made and how that is affecting people, and just continuing to stay empathetic. Obviously, like being in a high stake environment, like you have to take calculated risk, and you have to understand that you have to mitigate that risk and make decisions. And it is so much easier to make decisions when you've just practiced and practiced and practiced. And when I talk to younger guys, it's so easy for me to pitch them on branch and infantry or branch and combat arms, because those who've played sports, those who've played organized team sports, it's running a play. Like when I set up an ambush in Ranger School, I'm running a play. It's X's and O's. It's the same concept of like trying to anticipate what the enemy is going to do, and you do the same thing when you watch film and and at football practice, or you do this.
Mm-hmm.
It is just constant getting reps and sets, and all of those like long days and long nights just helped me so much, because like I was able to understand and realize and kind of see what made a good team, and the aspects and the core values and things like that. And I mean, I literally just took all of that stuff with me into being a platoon leader. And then as a company commander, like my mission statement and my vision statement was, eerily similar to Coach Monken's, toughness, humility, effort, execution. I changed effort to empathy, because I think every great leader in the Army has to exude empathy and understand that everybody in their organization is not the same, and you have to take things in stride. But my motto in Cherokee Company 126 was toughness, humility, empathy, and execution. So definitely stayed with me to this day, Bryce.
Kelvin, I can already tell whatever organization is lucky enough to have you on their team is going to be so blessed. You are a force to be reckoned with, my friend. Okay, so then let's now talk about you graduate from the academy, you branched infantry. Take me through a little bit about your career. We'll talk about your wife more in detail later. Tell us where you met her and like where you're at today.
Great. Went down to Fort Benning. It was then Fort Benning, Georgia. Struggled to pass Ranger School, so I know that could be a completely
Hungry
other topic.
Ranger or Sleepy Ranger?
Oh, I'm definitely a sleepy Ranger. I don't have to eat.
Okay.
I got a lot of calories in my body, so I could go a couple days without eating. But man, that sleep. But again, these are things that you learn about yourself. You understand the points at which you can get to before you break down. And Ranger School was a really really big challenge for me. I failed push-ups a bunch of times. I had to overcome that, persevere through that, and finally made that. Got to Germany. Actually called my battalion commander while I was at Fort Benning when I failed the second time. Ranger school. And I said, hey, I don't want to come to your organization until I have a Ranger tab, or if I don't get a Ranger tab, then, I don't want to come over there. I'll just go to like basic training or something. And he was like, no, we're sending you back. So I actually got a third opportunity, which is like very weird.
Wow.
I made it. My motto in that school, shout out to, Mitch Dutton, Special Forces Green Beret, is what is dead may never die. You get that third chance, and you just can't strike out. So was able to pass my third time, showed up in my battalion commander's office the day I got to Germany, and he said, yeah, you're going to go to Apache troop. So I was lucky enough to walk into a platoon. I went to Poland on an operational deployment, enhanced forward presence for NATO. 6 months there. I came back and I tore my ACL. It like seems like little, but to a guy who's played football for 18 years, who's never been injured. I'm a single lieutenant in Germany. I just got fenced to go to 375, 75th Ranger Regiment as a lieutenant, and I'm like in my glory. I'm still in my glory of like playing football. And there you go. Non-contact, tore my ACL. It was probably the lowest time of my life at that point. I drove the launch stool 4 hours. I stayed on my platoon sergeant's couch for the 8 weeks that I was non-weight bearing. And my platoon sergeant and his wife, Carlos and Emily, took care of me. But man, it was such a crucible event for me. Like I've been through some tough things and I've done some, pretty challenging things, but really just not having the ability to, one, just like exude my physicality. Like that's what we do as athletes. Like having that taken away from you, you just have to find ways to get through. So, it was a little bit dark, but it doesn't end. It doesn't end there. So we'll talk about my wife a little bit later, but I met Emily. We eloped in Copenhagen, Denmark, which was the best day of my life. Well, I guess second best, third best. I have 2 kids. So it depends on the day, I guess. If it's on our anniversary, that's the best day. But to fast forward to that, I was on staff for 14 months as a lieutenant. I was ready to get out of the Army at that point. Missed my opportunity to go to special operations. I was like, this is stupid. The Army's stupid. And then I had 2 leaders really who kind of took me in. They saw the potential in me and they were like, hey, I know it's like bad right now, but you have to understand, like you're young, you've got a lot of stuff to look forward to and like you can bounce back from this. So those were Major Davis and Major Phillips, who were my battalion XO and S3 and 1-2 CR. And they really, really did a good job of, helping me see what the future was like had in store. So I was there, traveled a lot for work, did Sabre Guardian, Sabre Strike, Dragoon Ready and JMRC. And then COVID hit. And we were just like working from home. Everybody has their own COVID stories and stuff like that. But during COVID, I got into, really representing Team RWB. Was a part of the chapter over there in Germany, Team RWB overseas. Ran a lot. I was getting into, shape, I guess, for running post my knee surgery. And then I did a challenge with Uplifting Athletes, which is a nonprofit organization that tackles rare disease, who I'll continue to try to stay in lockstep with when I get out to continue to serve. But that helped me out a lot because I was able to bounce back. I was like really good shape running wise. And then we came back to the States. I went to MCCC and what was then still Fort Benning. And then I got orders to go to 2nd Brigade 101st Airborne Division to take a company. So a lot of things happened in that time. Could really talk about being a lieutenant for days. It's what we spend 4 years at West Point to do, is to spend 12 to 18 months as a platoon leader. And everybody looks forward to being a platoon leader. But really just the opportunity to be in Europe and the opportunity to meet my wife. And you really never know where life's going to take you, Brian.
No, you don't. What a beautiful story. And I love talking to you because it's very clear that you love life and you have certainly lived, and it's a beautiful thing just to even see the smile on your face. So I totally can relate to like what you said earlier, like the 40 years that we spent at West Point in preparation to do this one thing. I remember so clearly, like every class, everybody just only wanted to talk about being a platoon leader. Being a platoon leader is the best job in the Army. And it's hilarious because I think you're the only one so far that can relate to this. But I found command was the best job in the Army. And so thankful, similar to you, all that preparation we did and then enjoying that platoon time, but then being able to experience that company command time, I bet was just absolutely magical, especially 101st.
Yeah.
That's a totally different ballgame. I mean, that's insane. I bet you have some wild stories there.
It was just like an incredibly humbling experience to be a company commander. And, you know, a lot of people were always telling you, like, when you're thinking about getting out as lieutenant, like, oh, wait till company command and, you know, companies will do this for you. And I don't necessarily know what it looks like on the outside of it. But on a personal level, I cannot echo what you said enough. Being a company commander in the Army is the best job that I've had. And it's just like, I had 150 soldiers, NCOs, officers under me who were like, they just acted like how I acted. They like you. It just you have the opportunity to, you know, mold, shape, malleable individuals who just like they want to cling on to something and they want something, you know, to be passionate about and they want to find purpose. And you know, thankfully for me, we had a phenomenal team there at the 101st Seco 126. You know, guys I still work with now. I have two platoon leaders in the 75th Ranger Regiment with me. You know, my XO is about to be a company commander in 2CR now. So, you know, it's forever. You know what I'm saying? You're never, ever going to forget some of those guys and some of those experiences. But, you know, great job. I mean, I loved the job. It was a great job for me. Very, very, very successful in terms of just like what I took out of it. I had the opportunity to go to RASP too. Was assessed and selected to go to 75th Ranger Regiment, where I served as the S1 for the Special Troops Battalion. That was my last job right before I went on this deployment to the Over the Horizon Counterterrorism Cell, and just loved it. I loved, you know, being able to represent the 75th Ranger Regiment and talking to guys who want to serve in that organization. And it was a very, very good job. The Army had just changed over to IPSE too. So, but that being said, as we fast forward to, you know, the decision, I guess,
Yeah.
it is really, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. I did a pump to Romania, Slovakia during the right after Russia invaded the Ukraine, and I had guys on the border there in Poland doing the material aid mission. That was an 8-month deployment. Then I came back, and you know I just finished up this almost 5-month deployment, 4.5 months, and I just like missed a lot of my daughter's life, you know. And this is not a sob story for all the guys who, you know, GWAT vets and stuff like that who spent 15 pumps in Afghanistan and Iraq. Like I see you and I appreciate your service, but you know, for me, like my story and my life, I didn't really have present parents. I was raised by my grandparents, so the fact that I have one job as a father and a husband, those roles are just the most important thing to me. So being gone from my kids and stuff like that was just not something I was into. I think 10 years of service is great. So went to the drawing board, talked to my wife, and I think, you know, where I'm at in my life, and you know, I've accomplished the things that I've wanted to accomplish in the Army. And I'm not getting out because I don't think I could continue to serve. And I think you're probably in the same boat, Bryce. But I want to continue to be there for my family. So I would take my talents to Mendoza College of Business, and you know, do what we can. And I'll just transition, if that's all right, Bryce, to, you know, my
Please,
wife.
yeah.
Yeah. So my mother-in-law is class of 1982. I'm not going to say how old she is. That's rude. But she's a class of 1982 from Notre Dame. My wife graduated from St. Mary's College, which is essentially on campus at Notre Dame. And then she commissioned from the ROTC program at Notre Dame in 2017. All this stuff, just life is crazy, Bryce. My boxing instructor at West Point, his name was Major Will Kobe. He was our boxing coach. He was in DPE there. He left there. We'll backtrack. Will Kobe's from Central Pennsylvania. I'm from Central Pennsylvania. We met at West Point. Like, wow, we're from the same spot. That's weird. He goes to the 75th Ranger Regiment, crushes it as the regimental S4 there. Could have been a battalion commander. Could have been a general. He's like one of one, the guy. I find out that he's at Notre Dame as the PMS. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Will Kobe now.
Oh my gosh.
And I called him and I said, hey, you know, it would be great if my wife could come back there and work. And he's like, oh yeah, like that's a no-brainer. I have 41 of my 100 people in my ROTC program are women, and a lot of the questions that they ask me are like, how do you balance like family and being in the military? And like, my wife did it. My wife has 2 kids, highly successful. So the fact that now she gets this opportunity, and we're just waiting on the orders to come down. I know Captain Seelig there at the Signal Branch at HRC and Colonel Kobe are making sure that happens. And thank you to everybody who's made putting some sweat equity into making sure Emily gets that opportunity. Whenever I brought that up to her, I didn't really think about going to Notre Dame or going anywhere else besides like some M7. I was all my friends, you already mentioned Todd. Todd is the reason why I started Smart with the Heart, because I called Todd and because he's at Wharton. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to go to Wharton. Then I called 10 other guys that went to Wharton, literally. And I was like, I'm coming to Wharton, no doubt. It's in Pennsylvania. I'm from Harrisburg. It's in Philadelphia. It's a no-brainer. Like, my family's right there. I can get into school here. I'm in management leadership for tomorrow, which is really a DEI focused organization that, creates equitable workspaces and continues to represent the underrepresented minority. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get into Wharton. But Bryce, life happens, man. You have to make sacrifices. You have to compromise. And really, at the end of the day, you just like being on a team that I've mentioned already. You do what's best for your family, and going to Notre Dame was what was best for me. So, and my family. And I can't wait to go to South Bend, man. I can't wait to be around like just the campus and seeing the Golden Domes run out there on Saturdays, and just being a part of, something like that. Cause, I never got to sit in the stands of a Army game while I was a cadet, but I got to play instead. But now I get to like experience the tailgates and seeing people and doing that stuff, and just being a part of, a phenomenal organization, and really looking forward to diving into that network, being a part of Notre Dame's organization and all that stuff. So that's really it. And I can get into Smart with the Heart now if we can just continue to.
I just want to say again, I want to be your friend. Man, no, I love your story, and the fact that you were not only able to coordinate your wife to get a position in the ROTC program at Notre Dame, but also even get into Notre Dame. Let's be very clear. Notre Dame is an incredible program. So I told my wife, Caitlin, this morning that I was having a podcast interview with a Army football guy who's going to Notre Dame. And she dropped her fork in the midst of breakfast and was like, Notre Dame? I was like, yeah, Notre Dame. So please know, Notre Dame is an incredible program. And I'm so glad that you not only get to go there and enjoy like the football scene there, which is absolutely incredible, but also your wife gets to continue her career, and then you get to be with your kids. What is your wife's plan? Is she like staying in the Army, or is there eventually a plan to segue out? What's the plan?
Yeah, so I think we take decisions one step at a time. We will reassess when we get up there. She's a really high performer in the Signal Corps for Year Group 17. Had she not had a kid in October, she probably could have went double BZ or something like that. She's a much better officer than me. I'll tell you that, Bryce. So, it was like really, really hard for us to, HRC looks at her packet and it's like, oh yeah, you're going to go be an aide de camp, or you're going to go do, something like challenging that's going to help your career. But, this is a people business. Army is a people business. Life is a contact sport. So having the opportunity to really just take in the full perspective and why this is such a big deal for her to go back there. I've already mentioned the high percentage of women that are in the Army ROTC program at Notre Dame. And then just like perfect for your family. Because, if you just start sending people places and you're not really taking care of their family, like they're just going to grow resentful and not want to serve anyway. So the fact that like everybody's on board, and this is a really, really good opportunity for not only the Army, Notre Dame as a program, the Cadet Command, but also for Team White to get back up there. So we'll reassess. If she wants to go continue to serve, like I have no problem. Like I said, this is not a bad breakup for me in the Army. Things take precedent.
I get it. Yeah, especially 2 brand new kids. I, again, love that. So salient matter to me. I was also for 18 months an ROTC instructor at the University of Alabama in Birmingham.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was there for the patent internship program. I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever heard about that. Okay, yeah. So that was probably, oh my God, it was just an amazing time. It really was to impact cadets, like truly the future leaders of America, and impact them on that level. There really is nothing more gratifying. So I think she's going to have an incredible time. Let's talk about the desire to transition, the process of transitioning, and where Nafees and Smart with the Heart came in.
Yeah, perfect. Saw my buddy, his name's Lamar Johnson Harris, also an Army football player, a year
Yep.
group ahead of me. He and Todd were kind of in lockstep here with Smart with the Heart. Got on the hook with Todd. Todd was like, "Hey, you should check out Smart with the Heart." And I mean, at this point, I had already decided after my son was born in October 23 that I was going to transition out, but I just didn't know what I was going to do. And then I decided I was going to go to grad school. And they were like, "Hey, you should check this out. $99 for an entire self-paced course that you can, do on your own. And then you have the ability for one-on-one office hours with people who've been doing this for 20 years. I think Nafees is 16 or 20 years or something like that doing the GMAT, and Joe's doing the GRE. It was like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. Then I get into the Smart with the Heart, and I'm looking at the GRE videos, and I'm seeing people that I know. Kelsey Minato's on there, Nicole Blado's on there, Jasmine Morgan, Molly Mucher. I'm like seeing all of these people. I'm like, dude, like where like eagles fly where eagles fly. So if there's a whole bunch of super high performers using this exact same thing,
Yeah.
then I'm probably in good company. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to, see those things and saw those people. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be like Jasmine Morgan. That's who I want to be like. So I took the course, and let me back up. I took my first GRE and it was bad. It was like bad. I think I watched Lindsay Danilak's episode on here, and she said it was like pretty bad for her as well. But like, mine was like you probably played football in college bad. But anyway, so I like took it and I was like, oh, but like I'm bigger than my GRE score because I thought I was like this thing. But like, you have to continue to put effort into these things. I wouldn't say I'm like super smart, super gifted in the classroom. I probably did not pay as much attention as I should have just because I was, had other distractions and football and all these things, which no excuse. I ended with the 2.87, I think, at West Point. And that's because when Coach Monken came in, my grades kind of went down. I was not prepared for the amount of time I had to put into that. But, go Army, beat Navy. I still realize that like I've been out of the classroom for 10 years almost, 9 years. So you have to like revisit these old things. And the way that Joe taught that GRE class is just like he could teach that to a fourth grader probably to get to do well. So I'm not going to get into like my scores or anything, but like my scores went up a lot tremendously. And I was able to get into both of the programs I applied to in round 3, and I
Round
received
three too.
round
That's
3. Yeah.
competitive. Holy smokes, dude.
They received interviews, and then you still have to like perform, right? So you get the interview opportunity, and then, you have to kind of perform in that thing too. But really, Smart with the Heart, phenomenal. I would not recommend anything else unless you go like, want to pay a ton of money for a one-on-one tutor, which may help you if you have some specific things that you want to like tackle. But at the end of the day, like Joe and Nafees still open up their office for office hours, and you can go talk to them and you can do that. But if you think that you need, maybe something more specialized, then like, do you, boo. But like Smart with the Heart will get you across the goal line, I promise. And to anybody, and I think you brought this up a little earlier, Bryce, and I'm, probably getting a little long-winded here, but
this is important.
Any veteran, any service member, if you're enlisted, if you're an officer, it does not matter. Do not self-select. Like, you have the potential, the things that you go through every single day in service, the things that you do every day. Like, if you want to do something in the business world, like, you can shoot your shot, and these guys will help you. And, one quick anecdote here. I was on deployment. I was like, yep, I'm going to apply to grad school. Every single day after work, I'm just coming in, watching those videos with Smart with the Heart and doing the practice problems. Nafis has a Smart with a Heart, like I think they called them like fireside chats or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I dialed in. It's 5:30 in the morning for me in the Middle East, and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's this guy doing?" And then like they're like, "Oh, that's crazy that you're up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity for me to be in this organization and like really learn from you guys because you make it so easy." I just wanted to give them credit for my ability to get into the schools that I applied to. So I just said thank you to them. Then to fast forward 2 weeks last week, Sit Reps and Steercos had their MBA seminar virtual thing, and I jumped in with the fees, and he had 5 guys in his little breakout room, and he was like, "Hey, I didn't tell you to come in here, did I?" And I was like, "No, but like I just want everybody that was in that room to understand that what Smart with the Heart is doing is providing you the opportunity to, bet on yourself and just take you across that goal line." So, man, phenomenal program. Shout out to all the West Pointers that are on the board that are making this thing happen, and to Naviz and Joe for doing such a phenomenal job. So, and you, Bryce, because this
Nah,
is awesome.
stop.
No, this is
No,
awesome.
it's the reason why I even wanted to do this is because I knew there was people out there like you who had stories that needed to be heard. Because my mission personally and selfishly is to help people stop self-selecting because somebody in my life helped me avoid self-selecting because I was just on the precipice of only shooting my shot at, like M15 to M20 schools. I really wasn't even going to consider some of these more prestigious schools. And if it wasn't for somebody challenging me and really questioning the legitimacy of my claims that I'm not smart enough, I'm not gifted enough, I'm not unique enough, that person changed my life. And I am trying to get that message out. And again, it's people like you who are going to help others cross the finish line. Kelvin, everything in this has been incredible. I usually try to make clips for each of our episodes, and I usually only have like 2 or 3, but now I have like 5. So I'm super excited to already kind of like get this edited and push it out as fast as possible. But before we close out, do you have any parting words, any last advice, any considerations that you want our listeners to hear?
Yeah, just no matter what you're going through in life, don't let it be the thing that like you identify as. So don't if you're having a hard time and whatever that may be financially, mentally, physically, like that this too shall pass, So for all you guys who are on the cusp of making this decision to transition out of the military or transition or pivot into something else and you're seeing this like the people in this organization, the people that have done Smart with the Heart, you can reach out to any of us and like I can talk about this forever. But please, somebody's done it before you, and we're all here to help. We're just beings. So thank you so much, Bryce. I can't thank you enough for the 40 minutes that you've listened to me ramble on about my story. But thank you again to Nafiz and Joe and everybody at Smart with the Heart. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Blessings, Kelvin.
All right. See you, brother.